Alright, we are back with another set of roster reviews, and the first one will be for Rayskywalker. And yeah, this is the first set of roster reviews since we've had some time to get familiar with the most recent update and the change to era currency and buying Lightspeed tokens mainly, and a few other things. So yeah, interested to have a look at some accounts with that in mind. I am sure I will just be throwing Lightspeed tokens left, right, and center at all of these accounts. So yeah, to begin with, Rayskywalker. Their spending style, light spender, spent around 40 to 50 pounds in total. I'm going to say that is, so maybe a few Lightspeed bundles, probably not a regular pass purchaser if that's the case. In terms of their plans, this was submitted, I guess, well over a month ago at this point, so they should have those Lightspeed tokens from Andor. They do have Leia, but the rest I have checked and they're still working on. Balin, JML, and then looking at Profundity or Leviathan. I think that is still very much a focus, and yeah, thank you very much. I'd love to hear that. So we will head over to their stats. So they've been playing for nearly 2 years at this point, 6.4 million. I find it very hard to get a gauge on GP now with all of the recent changes, but it seems decent for a very light spender, part of Rebel Banter Guild, which is not 6.36 million. That is their GP size. A bit of an error there. I'll just double check what their guild is. There we go, just cheekily updated that. So 543 million Rebel Banter. Mod score I would say is pretty decent, approaching the 4 marker. Of course, always room to grow, but that looks good to me. Guild raid score, so 120 million, solid. In the raid, we are still yet to find out when the next raid will be. It could be after this era, but nothing's been announced, so there's a chance it could be pushed back further than we might have expected. So at the moment, that's probably fine to stay put. Guild raid score is quite a bit below the average, but as I always say, if the guild is happy with it at this point, no point in improving that. Erodian 4, so I guess this would be the sort of account eyeing up that Kyber push at some point, getting top 10 in fleet. I would of course like to see sort of getting top 5 or first, or I'd say I would like to. That's I guess a good thing to aim for. I'm not deciding anything, but that's one area that we can maybe look at in terms of prioritizing. Coliseum rank top 250. This was last era, and of course that's one of the big changes with loaned units and stuff there, so I might have to do a bit of detective work with these first few accounts to try find out where they'd be placing at the moment. But of course the rewards have been tripled, so even if they're still in the same spot, I doubt they'd be any lower. They'd be getting 9,000 era currency a month, and then decent raid scores, crystals that could be a room for improvement. They could add as much as 200 crystals per day, and then they're looking at being able to comfortably do things like the 5-star marquees if they wanted to. Assault battles, yeah, not gonna poke too many holes in that. I guess there's a couple that could go to CT3, but at this point I think the rewards from assault battles are becoming less and less important. I think the signal data is still nice. It's very small, but it does add up over time, and if you can get the CT3, then may as well. R7, I think that's a good stopping point now. Changes to the economy, I don't think R9 is a huge priority, and they have Jabba, so they're pretty well set up from a resource standpoint, maybe apart from fleets. So let's have a look at their account proper. Okay, so here we are in their account. So 2 GLs, they have Jabba, they have Leia, R10 Leia, so quite a bit of investment there. I think the first thing I'm actually going to look at is their era characters. I am curious to see if .gg includes the loaned units. Doesn't look like it, but they are getting 5 stars for this, so I imagine the strategy is 5 stars. I know from my own experience of getting the marquee characters to 5 stars, and one of the accounts where I'm only doing that and not spending anything extra, I'm able after the first week to just sneak into the top 90. The era level is a little bit lower on this than my guys for some reason. I'm not too sure why, but I'm gonna guess they're on that boundary of top 90 to the top 250 range. If it's anything like my account, that's doing the same. I'm gonna guess they haven't spent anything extra on in terms of episode passes, but I guess I can quickly check that by looking in game at their account, which I'll just do now. Yep, so here are their loaned units in game. I know from my account that that means free to play, no pass or anything, but got the extra loaned unit levels from getting to 5 stars. So yeah, around that top 90 to top 250. So should have a decent income of era currency coming into the account. So that will be good to keep in mind for sure. I wonder, is there any way of showing loaned units? All era units maybe? I doubt it. But yeah, so that's where they are in terms of Colosseum. Going for 5-star strategy is probably decent. My only worry is they're on average getting 700 crystals a day, so they won't, I imagine, be able to do even 3 refreshes on Cantina, and definitely not both Cantina and Mod Energy, and still have enough if they are free to play, which I think they are, saving enough crystals to take the marquee characters to 5 stars. So they could hurt in other areas of the account, and maybe I'll keep an eye out for potential bottlenecks. I do think SWGOH data might be one for this account, but let's have a quick look through. So we've got the Peridia pals. I think we're quite GAC focused with Bo-Katan, with Starkiller. We've got like the Captain Drogon Omicron, we got Jabba and Chrysanthemum's Omicron, so pretty decent in terms of GAC focused team. I think they're probably at the point where looking to build out the number of GLs, and I think that is what Lightspeed tokens now will really help with, just being able to knock out those really rubbish requirements. I'm thinking like your ray requirements or something like that, the low level resistance. So that could be a direction that's worth going in. So yeah, my impressions are lots of GAC Omicrons, sort of specific teams. I guess Relic Delta might start to be an issue to punch up into Kyber, but you've got relics on your Leias, on your Jabbas, on the team as well. So I think you've got Chrysanthemum and Bush at Relic 7, which is decent, and then yeah, the Captain Drogon is a Relic 7 requirement anyway. Working on Darth Malik I see at 6 stars, where you've got Treya. So yeah, a lot of lower Relic GAC teams. So yeah, quite a compact account, and there's a lot of the Lightspeed tokens and stuff. There's the freebie from last era with the Make Good, being able to get those guys at era level 85 as it was to get the Zetas, and then we've got a bunch of like the Gear 12. So all of this down here I imagine is going to be prime Lightspeed token territory going forward. So let's have a look through their journey guides, but just before we do that, I'm just going to double check how they're doing in terms of conquest, which I forgot to do earlier. So this is their progress against some key characters. So this is, let's say it'll be about 2 conquest cycles behind. So we can probably add 40 shards to most of these, but it's still looking like a while away from things like Leviathan and Commander Ahsoka. Ezra is a bit closer, but of course Ezra has been nerfed, so unless you can unlock Ahsoka Tano, not much point in getting Ezra. So yeah, I think for this review, I think all of this will be outside the 6-month window for sure. So yeah, let's head back and have a look at the journey guides. Okay, so let's start with Balin, which they mentioned using Kyber Lightspeed tokens on from the Andor event. Looks like they have used probably those on Morgan and Great Mothers, and still working on a star for Shin and Marok as well. So looks close. I imagine this is what they're currently working on and should definitely be doable this month. I would say, in the remaining 2 weeks of this month. Again, signal data is going to be the issue here, which is my slight worry on this account, just because of, going for the 5-star route, and I don't think they're buying the episode pass, so that would mean like 400 to 450 crystals on average each day needed on that. They mentioned Jedi Knight look, they have done things like Jabba and Leia, so this is really just a case of Jedi training Rey. If they have the Zetas spare, then I guess may as well. I might also have a look to see, do they have Jedi Knight Cal Kestis? Could be they don't have Jedi Knight Cal Kestis, so I guess it's always nice to have a GL. He's definitely lower down the priority, I guess, in terms of other Conquest characters. So they don't have any of the latest ones, so I'm gonna guess they're not on track to unlock Satele Shan. They'll have 2 goals left, so maybe this will be the first Conquest character they can unlock, and if they do, that would bump JML even further down the priority list, because Satele Shan will probably steal Jedi Knight Revan from a JML team, which will weaken it even more. You don't have Jedi Knight Cal Kestis yet, so I think JML would be a little bit down the priority. There's probably some slightly stronger teams like Balin that you could be working on, and this is just going to be like a signal data and Zetas really, so, and no lightspeed tokens. Profundity looks really close. I would say this looks very close, so lightspeed token on Cassian, even though it's at gear 11, I generally don't think that is a worry anymore. Then we just got a few relic levels. We have most of the ships, just a few more, so I guess in terms of timelines, I think going for Profundity as soon as possible makes sense. Probably not quite possible within the 2 weeks left in May, just because the event comes around at the end of the month, so I will pencil that in for June. Always good to have a couple of really good fleets, even just for JAC, but might help some of the climbing in Fleet Arena. I guess I'll check their state of their Fleet Arena. Yeah, so they said a lot of Leviathans and Profundities at the top of the Fleet Arena. They did say they could actually get up there if they climb, so maybe it's just not having a time sort of thing, which is completely fine, so it's not really an investment issue. It's just, it can be painful to climb up, especially with Executor against Profundities and Leviathans. You can win, it's just, it's not a slam dunk. Profundity should help against the other Profundities. It's quite an easy mirror match, so might make your life slightly easier. In terms of your Executor, is it at 7? Yes, at 7 stars. You've got a Relic 9 Piet. Do you have any investment in your... I imagine you definitely can beat Leviathans. I wonder, do you have the Mark 6 Interceptor? I don't think so, actually. That might be a ship to get. The Mark 6 Interceptor, the Sith ship. I believe Sith Empire Trooper is the pilot for that. Even at very low stars, I believe that helps with Leviathan counters, just because it gives tenacity up. So that might be something to look into. I'm just about to start trying that myself on one of my accounts, and see how that goes. So that might be one thing to grab. Will potentially make that counter easier and help you climb up higher for no extra investment. But either way, I think Profundity is a great option. Leviathan, the issue is the Conquest characters. It's well over 6 months away, so obviously be ready as soon as you can. But with lightspeed tokens, you've done the hard stuff really. All of these guys will just be lightspeed tokens eventually, and they'll just be farming ships. So maybe you're probably even further. You're further than 6 months away, so probably not worth starting. But as I mentioned, maybe pick up this ship, have a look around for those counters. Might make Fleet Arena a little bit easier in terms of climbing. Ahsoka, we're limited by Commander Ahsoka Tano, and you've already got the Peridia POW, so there's not really anything to discuss for this review. But a requirement for Ahsoka, and one that I definitely think is worth working on, is gas. So we are getting Separatist lightspeed tokens at the end of this episode track, which could be any one of these guys, I guess. And then the rest, yeah, maybe a Saj lightspeed token. I do think they'll be flowing in, so that's probably an okay use because she is a requirement for Ahsoka in the future. And then Separatist 1 and I don't know, Carbonite, or just get to gear 12 probably. You'll have less use of that material. So I think gas, you've done the difficult farming with Droidica and B1, so you are very close to unlocking gas. So if we bring up the plan, I think it's the sort of thing you could do on the side, and I imagine I'm going to recommend something that requires gas pretty soon. So I think you could, there's not really much in terms of signal data or even relicking that's required. You've got that Separatist lightspeed token, and then you'll be able to unlock gas, and then like you're doing with Malik, just over time get him to 7 stars. Which brings me on to why you might want gas, and that is Pirate King Hondo. So one of the big changes or pieces of news over the last week is that they are adding the new Bad Batch and also the Order 66 characters, so the Dark Clones and the Jedi Vanguards, to lightspeed tokens. So that means everything up to the era before the pirates should be available with lightspeed tokens, which increases my confidence that pirates will be available with lightspeed tokens maybe within 3 months. If they're just adding the Order 66 characters now, maybe in 3 months time they'll add the pirates. It's hard to tell because clearly something wasn't quite right with them adding both the Bad Batch and the Order 66 characters at the same time. So there's no real pattern yet, but my hunch is that they just forgot to add the new Bad Batch when they should have been about a year after their era. So I think within the next 3 to 6 months, hopefully sooner than 6 months, you should be able to get pirates with lightspeed tokens, which means I think for pretty much everyone, Pirate King Hondo would be a great target for the insane mod rewards. Mods, yeah, everyone needs them is my insightful piece there. So you obviously don't need, I don't think now that it's worth farming pirates if you're still like at 2 or 3 stars. It's the sort of thing where maybe you might do if you've run out of all other farms and you just have spare energy to burn. May as well at that point, just in case, farm them, because we don't know for sure when the lightspeed tokens are coming out. But I'd say probably don't do that and just wait till the lightspeed tokens at this point, because of the, I guess, the increased confidence that they're coming out, and then start to think about preparing. And really that's only farming Ray's Millennium Falcon, which will take a while, but definitely get that going on in the background just to give you the opportunity to do this farm if you want to. And then also gas as well, which I mentioned. So those are the 2 longer term things. The other ones you could just wait and save lightspeed tokens, and maybe by the time this era finishes and you maybe get 5 more Kyber lightspeed tokens, if you're going for that route, could be a good use of those on people like Hondo, even on Ray Scavenger. I generally think the fact that they're not Kyrotech isn't really an issue anymore, because we just have so many Erodium lightspeed tokens as well. So you're just looking for characters who are at least Relic 6 requirements. Count Dooku as well. So obviously we'll have a better idea towards the end of this era, but this might be a place you might want to start thinking about putting lightspeed tokens. I wouldn't apply them until we know the pirate ones are coming out, but maybe hoard a few or have this as a sort of long-term project, just because it's not going to be that difficult with the lightspeed tokens, and the rewards, it's double what you get from Smuggler's Run 2, and yeah, with the huge increase in relics, getting mods is even more important now. So I think definitely a priority for most people. In terms of time, so if we go for 1 to 3 months, maybe the pirate lightspeed tokens come out around August, you then need a little bit of time to farm them from 6 to 7 stars. They will be accelerated at that point. So I think September could be a good target. Of course, there might be a raid coming out, who knows, but I think for now, having that sort of long-term goal of Pirate King, as I'll just call him, could be a good shout indeed. Then moving on, Lord Vader. This is another thing that the recent Lightspeed token changes bring in to range, because you can now get the dark side clone troopers with Lightspeed tokens, or you should be able to, starting from next week. I don't think this makes Lord Vader an immediate target, but definitely bumps him up the priority list, and maybe like after Pirate King Hondo could be a decent target, I would say, and maybe even before, because I guess looking at this, we've got Balin, we've got Profundity, we've got Gas, Leviathan isn't really feasible. Pirate King Hondo I think would be a long-term thing, but with the changes to the farming, I think progress could be made a lot quicker. So either in here, maybe you want to work on the new raid if that gets announced, but we don't know. So I guess if there isn't going to be a raid, what would I suggest? So let's head back to your accounts real quick. Is there any, I guess, big teams? How are you doing for Inquisitors? Do you have Riva? Let's have a look at this. If I can know the alphabet, there we go. So no Riva. I guess I'm not sure. What's your guild? How are they doing for Riva? Maybe if it will at all load. Let's give it some time to do that and pop back to that. So GLs you could go for. I guess given the gap, I guess JML would make sense. You might also want to pair Jedi Knight Calcastus with help out the guild, get someone good on the team as well. So that's really like a Zeta thing, and I'll put it in July just to space things out. But really in terms of Zetas, like Profundity, you don't need a lot of Zetas. Gas, I probably wouldn't recommend working on the team so much as I would just getting him unlocked and prepared for Pirate King Hondo. So I think JML could be an option. That will give you, I guess, the 3 original GLs. Other things to go for. So I think Pirate King Hondo would give you 4. There's always the option now of going for things like SWGOH, Ray, C as a free-to-play player, just because you could just fill out those requirements with Lightspeed tokens, and things like Ahsoka are gated by conquest units. So maybe that could be a good use, like a character like SWGOH. His requirements are mostly Relic 5 and a couple of Relic 7, so it wouldn't, if you find yourself getting bottlenecked by signal data, that might be a good option. I think the changes to Lightspeed tokens really opened that up. Other teams, I guess the other thing that you could be doing is, I guess, working on the relics a little bit for some of these teams, like the Sith, like getting that team a little bit, like both the Darth Treya team and the Darth Malik team, popping some relics on there. You have a lot of the main GAC teams and you don't have the conquest units, so you won't be able to work on things like Malicos or, I don't know, Maz or something. So I'm struggling to find teams that are not GLs. Let's have a look. How you're doing for things like Merrin. So you've got some stars in Merrin, on what's his name, Tarful. Let's get an idea of, yeah, so maybe I think like farming that in the background, you can apply, yeah, like Seer would definitely be a good Erodium Lightspeed token use. So I think going for like, yeah, pairing Jedi Knight Calcastus, I've definitely done the K's and C's the wrong way around there, could be a good option. I just really think the pace of the game has changed. So I'm looking at this now and I'm thinking, you've already done the relics for pretty much all of these. JML and Jedi Knight Calcastus don't really require a lot of Lightspeed tokens. So I do think you really have the room for something else quite big. And I don't really have a strong preference to what that would be. I think you could work on, let's say, a 4th. It'd be your 4th GL. I don't know. I'm feeling SWGOH. Like, I don't feel strongly about this, but I think if you just find yourself, especially if you're able to stay in like the top 90, getting 600 era currency a day, which is well over one Lightspeed token a week, I think because you've already got a lot of the core teams worked out and you're still a while away from conquest units, I think just going for something like SOKR, just chucking a load of Lightspeed tokens at it makes sense to me. I'm struggling to find, I guess, another, like, who are the big teams? Like, you've got Bo-Katan, you've got Balin, you've got the Night Sisters, you've got like, the Old Republic, the Sith. You don't have any conquest characters. I'm sure I'm forgetting something obvious. You've got, yeah, so yeah, I think that'd be my recommendation. Lord Vader could be an option as well. That is a little bit higher relic. Signal data might start to become an issue, but you could go for Lord Vader and maybe work on the gas team as well, because you'll be working on some of the clone troopers as well. It also kind of feeds in a little bit to Pirate King Hondo with like Count Dooku as well. So, but it just is higher relics. That's why I like SOKR, which I think only requires like 3 characters to Relic 7, and the rest will just be Relic 5 Lightspeed tokens. So yeah, I guess that's my recommendation. And I think this is light enough that if a raid does pop up, I think you'd still be able to do that. But of course, things can change. So yeah, I think that's my plan. So thank you very much for letting me review your account, and I'll see you next time. Alright, next up we have Wanderer. So we'll start with the context they provided. They are free to play in terms of their plans. They're finishing Balin, then working on conquest characters. They've got Stranger Maul, Bane and Padme unlocked, so this I guess looks like the big focus at the moment. Then working on gas and then GLs. This was submitted a month or so ago, so they do have Balin and gas done at this point, but I imagine they're still in the midst of working through all of the conquest characters that they've unlocked. So let's head over to their stats. So they've been playing about 2 3/4 years, 8.4 million, so sort of late to mid game, if that's such a thing. Jaja Wick, which is one of my old guilds, so nice to see that. And then decent mod score, I would say, but yeah, it's always something that can be improved. Guild raid is in a decent place. I think at this point not worth changing much in terms of the guild score and raid score. We have no idea when the next raid is coming. Just into Kyber, I don't know if they've just reached there or they're hanging on to Kyber 5 at this point. I'm trying to work out, I guess they probably just got promoted because I'm recording this in the off week. So yeah, I'll see what's going on there. Fleet rank getting top 10. Of course, getting higher would be decent, but I'm sure they can get up there if they need to. It might just be a full fleet shard. I'll just check to see what they said on that. Yeah, so they said it's mostly Leviathans. They can sometimes sneak to first place, but rarely. So I guess that's the top 10 then. Colosseum. So yeah, I probably need to change this or remove this, because this is Colosseum rank from before. I'm going to guess if they are completely free to play, I'm going to guess they're probably not in the top 30 this time around. I'll have a look at what they're doing with the era characters, but the most they could get in terms of the loaned units, which is the big driver, is an extra 4 from the 5-star marquee. So unfortunately it's a bit of a gate, especially at the start of the era, for free to play. So I guess perhaps ignore this, and I'll have a look at when I'm going through the account. The rest looks in decent shape. Crystals, I guess I'll have a look to see potential improvements that could be made there. The answer is probably just going to be Leviathan, but we'll have to see. Assault battles, nothing needs done here. I don't think R9 is that much of a priority now, especially when you have other things to work on and everything else CT3. Jabba, Pirate King Hondo is probably going to be on the list today, just because of the sheer value of his event, but we'll have a look at that. Then their conquest characters. So looks like we're getting there. So it sounds like they're unlocking a few of them. This will be at least 2 I would say, Conquest Proving Grounds events behind, so you can maybe add 40 shards to a lot of these. So Ben Solo's probably done, Malgus is probably done, and I'd say Fury class at the very most will be 2 to 3 months away. So Leviathan is definitely within the 6-month time frame that I like to look at, and given that they struggle to get to first, it does sound like Leviathan is going to be an option. So yeah, let's head on over to their account. Okay, so first of all, Forge, we've got like the original trilogy GLs, and then also C, so a good foundation. And yeah, I'm sure they'll be close to a few more. I'm seeing Bane, they mentioned in terms of conquest characters, so that might be something I look at in terms of what conquest characters they have unlocked and which ones they still need to maybe stick some gear, Zetas, Omicrons on, which ones are the priority. They've got Stranger, no Omicrons yet. I imagine they do have Starkiller. They do have Starkiller with all 3 Omicrons. So yeah, definitely looks like they're about in the place to start to make a leap in GAC. It looks like, yeah, they just snuck up into Erodium 1 at the end of last era. So this is maybe their first time in Kyber. A nice run there at the end to get in there. So it's, I guess it'll be touch and go to stay in there, given that they're starting in Kyber 5, which is quite unusual. Usually you get bumped up to like Kyber 4 or the equivalent. So yeah, I'm sure GAC will be a big focus. Have a quick look through and see if there's anything. So yeah, there are quite a few conquest characters. It looks like Omicrons is maybe the bottleneck here, just because they've got the Zetas on Stranger, they've got the Zetas on Queen Amidala, but they don't have the Omicrons. They've got Jedi Knight Calcastus, not R7, interestingly enough, for the special mission. And what else do we have? Just a bunch of requirements and teams. Padawan, Obi-Wan, Omicron, which is good. Yeah, it's a pretty GAC focused. They have, that's interesting, that's 7-star Clea. I wonder if they just got lucky with a shard pool. So let's have a look at all era units maybe. Yeah, so that is probably what happened. So it looks like they're going for the 4-star route, but yeah, I imagine pulled, I don't know, maybe a 330 on Clea, which is cool to see. And then we've had the era battle for ISB, so they've probably been able to get a couple of them up to 5 stars through there, but went to 4 stars for the most part free to play. In terms of this era, so it looks like they are going for 5 stars this time around. I think 4-star, yeah, last time 4 stars apart from Clea, of course, and looks like they're going for 5 stars on R5. I'm gonna copy this and we're going to check in game to see where their loaned units are at. All right, so here is their profile. Yep, so I think as expected, they've got 5 stars, era level 32, and yeah, definitely not spending anything else in terms of episode pass. So going off my own experience on my account, that's doing the same with no spending. You're looking at the top 90 to top 250 range, so hopefully getting into the top 90 fairly often and getting that extra era currency and Erodium Lightspeed tokens. We don't know how it's going to play out for the rest of the era, but so far you'll have a little bit of an advantage by going for the 5 stars. So let's head back to the account. Yeah, so I guess while we're here, we can check conquest units as well, which they said they've just unlocked. So it looks like they mentioned Queen Amidala, Darth Bane. Did they mention anything else? No, that is everything they mentioned. And also Ezra. Obviously Ezra has just been nerfed, so that maybe this is good timing, because you know not to go for Rey. I guess you probably wouldn't have anyway, but no point working on Ezra until you get Ahsoka. But looking at your conquest shards, you're probably about 2 months away from Commander Ahsoka, so that does open up going for GL Ahsoka, but maybe also Jedi Master Kenobi as well, to have her in his team. So yeah, a lot of options here. It looks like Omicrons, I'm going to guess, is the bottleneck. Taron Malicos would be another great option. I guess we can check your unaligned force users to see if you got a team to drop him into if you were to work on him. We do not. So I guess you've got Seer, Calcastus. So yeah, I guess, yeah, obviously you'd want to use Starkiller with the Stranger team. You probably got do you have a 4-star Maul? I don't think you do actually, but either way, I think Maul is unaligned force user. Yeah, so you don't have hate field. So yeah, so I guess you'd have a Stranger Starkiller team without Maul, which will still be decent. Then you'll have like an unaligned force users team potentially, but that might be a while away just because I think Omicrons might be a bit of an issue. So let's have a look at journey guides. So you mentioned you already completed gas to prepare for some upcoming GLs. This is the obvious one really. So Pirate King Hondo, well, I went through it a little bit in the last review, but we now know that we'll be able to use Erodium Lightspeed tokens on the new Bad Batch and the Order 66 or the Return of the Sith era characters as well, starting next week, which means that hopefully these guys are 3 months away, probably at the minimum, maybe 3 to 6 months, but that means you can definitely prepare to unlock, and it looks like you're doing that already. So farming Ray's Millennium Falcon, General Skywalker, starting to think about saving Lightspeed tokens for these guys, working on General Kenobi as well. You've already got a lot of the Lightspeed tokens on these guys, so really it's just these two you need, and Chirrut as well. So yeah, I think you're definitely in the position to go for Pirate King Hondo when he comes out, or not when he comes out, when the Lightspeed tokens, when you can start to use them on pirates. So in terms of a plan, I think, let's say Lightspeed tokens will come out in August, so you need a little bit of time to farm from 6 to 7 stars. You might be able to use Kyber Lightspeed tokens. I don't know when it will line up with Journey quests with the Kyber Lightspeed tokens from the Journey events, so you might just be able to get them straight away. But let's say, and this is just an estimate because we don't know when for sure those Lightspeed tokens, when you can use those on pirates, but let's put Pirate King Hondo, pencil him in, just because his event is by far the best resource event in the game. Mods, yeah, with the rate at which people are getting relics, it's even more important, just because you're not going to be able to mod characters quick and fast enough anymore. So yeah, really just bumps up the importance of Pirate King Hondo, and having the Lightspeed tokens will just make him a lot more obtainable. You don't need conquest characters as well to unlock him. Commander Ahsoka looks pretty good. So I think 2 months until you get Commander Ahsoka. Sorry, this is GL Ahsoka, 2 months until you get Commander Ahsoka. You're working on gas anyway. You really only have a bunch of relicking to do. Lightspeed token. You should, with the changes, I reckon you're getting at least 1 a week, probably more. So these won't be an issue. So I think Ahsoka you could definitely do Ahsoka before Pirate King Hondo within, let's say, 1-2, conservatively July for Ahsoka for Glat. And you do have Ezra just sitting there as well, who you'll be able to work on. And obviously, Ahsoka has a resource event. It's still really good with Ezra in GAC, and especially now that Ezra is locked to Ahsoka, and in TW as well is amazing. So yeah, I don't think I'll see a GL apart from Pirate King Hondo who would be higher priority. So I'm just going to put Glat in there for now. I have a feeling you're already working on her, just looking at the relics here. So yeah, it makes sense. Lord Vader definitely further behind. The fact that we can use Erodium Lightspeed tokens on the clones makes this more of an attractive farm, but still probably behind Commander Ahsoka and Pirate King Hondo, but could be something that could be done pretty soon. It's just going to be a lot of Lightspeed tokens, really. All of these guys you'd have to like gear, Gas and Padme. You've got the ship. Yeah, I'd probably focus on getting, I think, don't quite know how the timing works out. It's hard. I don't quite have a great feel of the speed of things with the changes to Lightspeed tokens now, because I don't think Lightspeed tokens are going to be the issue. I think things like getting the higher relics are going to be the issue. So I'll probably I maybe won't put him on here, but you'll know yourself how quick things are going, and you could quickly get the 4 Darkside clones to stick in his team. So if you think it's possible, I think in terms of the ability of a GL, if you were to judge them on that, is probably one of the better ones you can get. JMK pretty close as well. It's probably going to be a lot easier to get than Lord Vader, and you will have Commander Ahsoka already for Glat, and then these will just be Lightspeed tokens, and then would work on that already for Pirate King Hondo, so we just need to relic Watt, and the rest will just be Lightspeed tokens. They're not a high relic, so I think Lord Vader with the clones is a better team, but in terms of just fitting something in, I think I'm going to stick him up here for now, but I think this would fit pretty well with this plan here. And I think actually won't require Omicrons for the team, so might be a nice one to squeeze in. So I'll see how the rest go, because there is one thing that I think should definitely take priority, so that might push JMK back down the order. Supreme Leader Kylo Ren, I'm going to start looking at this more even for free-to-play accounts, just because this will be like the ultimate Lightspeed token farm, because only Palpatine, Kylo Ren, and this Kylo Ren are needed at R7. The rest just Lightspeed tokens. So if you find yourself with a real excess of Lightspeed tokens, then this is going to be as good a farm as any. I don't know if you have Dark Vision Ray. That might be a thing to check. Conquest units, you're probably, I bet you're close, because Dark Vision Ray was after Ezra, so, and I think before Jocasta, so you probably, if you don't have her, you're very close. So Supreme Leader Kylo Ren is another option, so things like Jedi Master Kenobi, Supreme Leader Kylo Ren, those are like your, I don't know, your bonus GLs that you could actually just unlock very quickly with Lightspeed tokens if you have enough Zetas, I guess, to apply on them. So those would be your bonus farms, I guess, which is crazy to say, but I think that is going to be one of the big changes Lightspeed tokens bring, is going to make farms like these, which before you'd look at this and go, all of these characters, they don't really overlap with anything, they were just going to take ages to get up and running, and they're not very good or usable. But now, just because the pace is going to be so quick with relics, that soon you're just going to have an abundance of Lightspeed tokens, presumably in relics, so may as well throw them on this team. You're still going to be bottlenecked by other things such as mods and Zetas and Omicrons, so it's really going to be a non-issue, I think, to unlock teams like this. So I think this really brings it into free-to-play farming a lot more. Leviathan, so yeah, this would be probably number one priority now that I think about it, because I think we said 3 months maximum for getting the Fury class. So let me check that actually. Yeah, so 3 months maximum. I reckon you might be even closer. And again, this is, apart from these guys, and I guess Malgus isn't even a requirement, is Lightspeed tokens. The only issue though is TIE Dagger is at 4 stars, and then you've got 2 Cantina farms to go. I think in terms of crystals and fleet arena, this is probably going to be the best thing to target, but I am now starting to worry about signal data, because Galat requires a lot of high relics, Pirate King Hondo requires a lot of relics, but I think Leviathan should still be the priority. They did mention they're maybe making changes with ships, so I don't know if that's a reason not to farm. I think it's still worthwhile farming. Hopefully they don't completely remove Fleet Arena, but I guess you never know. But I think you just have to take the game as it is currently, and I think Leviathan, but we've got the issue of Cantina. So I think ideally you've got enough crystals in order to do 3 Cantina refreshes. I think it'll be touch and go. Hopefully you've got like a horde, because if you're going for 5 stars, you were getting about 700 and something crystals a day on average. You'll need about, I think it works out to about 430 on average crystals a day to go for the 5-star route. And yeah, that would maybe just about leave you enough to do 3 cantina refreshes. So I do see that being as a big pinch point, so probably worth doing. Where would I put this? I think Glat, let's just put them side by side, or let's put Glat in June, because you might be able to unlock Commander Ahsoka by then. You already have Ezra, and then Leviathan, and I guess that is where you are throwing, or where I would recommend throwing Lightspeed tokens, which you should be getting a lot. You also should be getting the Kyber Lightspeed tokens as well, which you could use on like the R7 requirements. The big hold up is going to be, I guess, TIE Dagger, but 3 months away, or 2.5 months. You could refresh that. I guess crystals might be the issue, so I guess if you're able to get TIE Dagger, maybe you're close to 5 stars, then July Leviathan, I think that is the one area in terms of your resources that could be improved slightly, and Leviathan would really help in that. And also just getting Mark 6 Interceptor unlocked at like 2 stars should help the Executor Leviathan counter as well, giving tenacity up, so that might be another thing to target. So yeah, I think you're in the position to go for the big ticket items, so Glat, Leviathan, Pirate King, Hondo. I think apart from that, I think you're still working through your conquest characters, which will take a lot of Zetas and Omicron, so maybe you probably don't want a lot of other farms. But I think I'm gonna create a new category called bonus GLs. So if you just have the Lightspeed tokens piling up, I think like SOKR in particular could be a good, or JMK as well actually, but SOKR because you won't need to put relics on any other characters because you've already done Emperor Palpatine. I guess Finalizer might be the issue actually with SOKR now that I think about it, but you should. Where are we with, so you got Kylo Ren, Command Shuttle, another Cantina farm for TIE Silencer. I guess maybe that makes JMK easier just because of the issue with Finalizer. I think you should have all of the Bounty Hunter ships, so really just TIE Silencer that you would need, I think, for Finalizer to get SOKR. So yeah, and in the meantime you are knee deep in conquest units, although I think you made a fair amount of progress if you go to characters rather. Yeah, so I guess it's not a huge amount of relicking. You probably want to work in Taron Malachus still, then work on Seer and Baby Cow, and then I guess you can also use Seer for the special mission, so that might be a sort of short-term thing, maybe. I don't know, let's just stick Malachus in here. Actually, no, because I'll put him way further down just because you're probably still working through Omicron. So yeah, so while you're working through that, I guess I'd focus on the big things, on Glat and Leviathan and Pirate King Hondo. The only thing I'm slightly nervous about is signal data and like the characters you need to farm with Cantina energy, because Leviathan requires 2 Cantina ships. So yeah, that's my one worry, but I guess in theory this is what I would go for, and I think that's about it for this account. I don't think there's anything else. I think it's a very well set up account. You have all of the assault battles done, you have Jabba. It's just about getting the newer GLs, so Glat and Pirate King Hondo really, and you've got a good sort of GAC team foundation as well. So yeah, thank you very much for letting me review your account, and I'll see you next time. Okay, on to the next roster review, and this one will be for Fiend, and Fiend has kindly donated, so thank you very much for that. And let's get on to the information they provided. They are spending about $50 a month with the occasional Lightspeed bundle, similar budget to one of the accounts I run as well, so should hopefully have some insight there. They're working on Leia, going to finish assault battles and improving impact in Rote. Their guild is like 350 million, so not doing like the R8 and R9 planets. So this maybe means working on sort of special missions and sort of Zepho and Mandalore unlocks Riva as well. But I can maybe have a look at general territory battle teams as well. In terms of other things, I'd like to hear some tips about mod improvement and how to split roster for GAC. I can have a quick look at mods. It's definitely not my area of expertise, but I can maybe check some of the important characters, and then also GAC. I'll have a quick look through the history to see if there's anything that can be done slightly different. So they've been playing for just over a year, 6.3 million, part of 340 million guild. Mod score, I would say, is ever so slightly below average. It's hard to tell now that people can increase their GP far quicker than they can actually farm mods, so it's okay, but yeah, it's just hard to keep up with the availability of relics now in terms of getting mods for them. So it's definitely something still worth prioritizing. Refreshes on mod energy, you've got Jabba, Pirate King Hondo would make sense at some point as well. Guild, so 51 million, maybe slightly below again where you'd expect, but we would expect a new raid soon. We don't have confirmation on that, but one would think that the Order 66 raid won't be here for much longer, but we don't know, so probably not worth working on it still. GAC, so in Bronzium 2, I would say, yeah, I think Chromium is definitely a possibility at this GP size, but we'll maybe have a look into that. Fleet, top 5, so 3rd on average, so yeah, not too much improvement there. Coliseum rank, so because this is a priority review, this should be recent information, or at least in the last week, so yeah, I probably won't need to estimate so much, but I'll have a look at what they're doing in terms of the era 1. Well, I'll get to it later, but I'll see what they're doing in terms of episode pass plus, maybe in terms of getting that extra era currency. Assault battles, they mentioned they're working on them, and yeah, I think looking a pretty good spot. R9 Jewel of the Fates, R7 Peridia Patrol, I probably wouldn't push past R7 just because it's 3 of them, and I would say the R9 tier rewards are not as valuable as they used to be, and I'm sure this stuff will just fill in naturally as they work in things like Jedi Knight look for here, and they might already have SOKR, I'm not too sure, and if they have SOKR they can do that. So yeah, it looks in a good spot, but let's head on over. Actually, I always forget, let's check their conquest progress. So probably has not been doing hard conquest for so long, maybe, I don't know, half a year or something, so this is a progress still a while away from most. Ezra is the closest, but of course Ezra has just recently been nerfed, so there's definitely no point accelerating Ezra. I expect this is closest because he was bonus drops, and also if they're buying the conquest pass, he is currently like the bonus character. You get 30 shards of a previous conquest character by buying the conquest pass, and at the moment it's Ezra, so a little bit more progress, but definitely not worth really focusing on now until you get Glat. So let's head on over to the account. Okay, so first of all, they have 2 GLs, Jabba and Supreme Leader Kylo Ren. They're working on Leia as the 3rd. Makes complete sense in terms of opening GLs. They've got quite high relics on them. Jabba is not the most necessary R8 or R9, but if they are going to be territory battle focused, then having an R9 Jabba will eventually be useful, because you can do his territory battle missions all the way up to the R9 planets with quite low or quite sort of a hodgepodge teams. You don't have to have the full cartel teams together, so I guess it's a decent territory battle investment. SOKR, I imagine from the Lightspeed bundle, we've got Padawan, Obi-Wan, And we've got Jedi Knight look as well, which will help. I guess that would be that one ground war assault battle you've got at CT2. If you look up some guides, you should be able to get that done at CT3. I just recently got that done on my similar account, just using Jedi Knight look, the Poncho Bros, Hermit Yoda, and somebody else that I can't remember, some other Jedi. So it's definitely possible without Jedi Master Luke if you want to finish that. Other things, we've got the Peridia power, so yeah, definitely we've got a TB Omicron on here, so definitely a TB focused account, which is something different. We've got Marok, which is probably going to be a more common Omicron for getting that special mission done. What else do we have? We've got like Scout Trooper. I wonder if a Scout Trooper R7 for like an R17 for territory battles is probably not that important. Eventually having like an R8 Dark Trooper Moff Gideon, the Peridia Pals, and like an R8 Scout Trooper is good for the mission on Mandalore, but that is probably going to be a little bit far off for the guild you're currently in. What else do we have? We've got a bunch of like Lightspeed tokens and requirements. Is there anything that's super standing out to me? So it looks like we've got things like the Ray Lightspeed bundle, we've got the SOKR Lightspeed bundle, we've got things, we maybe got the Gas Lightspeed bundle potentially, or no, I don't think so. I think that's probably just a Lightspeed token, and then a bunch of guys, Jabba requirements. Right, so let's start by having a look at your era units. So active era units, we are going for the 4-star route, which is maybe just going for episode pass, which would explain the top 100 in terms of Colosseum. So yeah, I think that's fine. You'll get the era character, you'll get a couple of Lightspeed tokens. I'm going to guess you're buying the episode pass. The episode, maybe not for this era, but if you do have a budget of $50, then the episode plus pass, even though that would eat up most of the budget, is definitely a lot more valuable now, because it gets the character straight to 5 stars, which the way they've restructured the era system basically makes it a bit of a pay to play wall at the start. So if you get the episode plus pass, at least for the first marquee and probably for the second, you are getting pretty good Colosseum performance. The count I'm doing that on comfortably in the top 30 just by buying the episode plus pass and getting the extra loaned unit levels, and also it gives you the characters to 5 stars without any extra investment. So yeah, I guess it's a possibility depending on your budget going forward, but I would say it's also not the most necessary thing in the world. I imagine you'll still be getting more than enough Lightspeed tokens for things. So let's, I guess, briefly go through the journey guide characters, or your potential farms that you mentioned and other things you could be working on. I will then go back and maybe have a bit of a look at territory battle teams and then GAC and maybe a bit of mods as well. So let's maybe go a little bit quicker through this bit. So Leia, you said you're working on, and you most definitely are. So that is a few relics away. So we'll just put Leia in at the start. That's definitely your next farm. We have, I always like to check Pirate King Hondo. I'll come back to this just because we now know that, as I mentioned earlier in the other roster reviews, we will have the Lightspeed tokens for Order 66 coming out next week, which starts to put the Lightspeed tokens for these guys on the clock. So it's a possibility that they will arrive in 3 months' time. So might be a nice idea laying the groundwork for Pirate King Hondo, just because of the importance for mods. It is more than double Smuggler's Run 2, so one way of improving mods is just by pure brute force and upgrade materials, which you can get through Smuggler's Run 3. So definitely, I think something to work towards in the future, and maybe save like Kyber Lightspeed tokens that you'd be getting for things like Hondo. I guess already at 7 stars, so maybe not Hondo, but for other ones, working on General Kenobi on gas, that sort of thing, and just getting ready. So if the Pirate Lightspeed tokens do drop, you're in a position to go for Pirate King Hondo. Profundity, so this will probably come up when I look at GAC. One way of doing very well in anywhere from Carbonite to Rhodium GAC is having big fleet advantage. It really means you can get the holds on fleet and take things on offense and get victories that way. That's my tactic on my account that's a similar spending level, which is like 5.8 million at this point, and I've just unlocked Executor, so I'll have Home 1, Executor, Profundity, and then also a sort of mediocre Galactic Republic fleet. So, and what you'll find is the people you're going up against just don't have that strength and depth in terms of fleets, and it means you can take more things than offense and not have to worry too much about defense a lot of the time, and sort of opens up flexibility for GAC because it's just the underinvested side of things. So Balin looks like we have a lot of work, and I would say you're probably working towards Balin. We got the Night Sisters. Night Sisters, of course, would be another great territory battle team, do that special mission on Dathomir, and then Marok for special mission, but also Balin as well once you have that team up and running, and you can use that elsewhere outside of that special mission. Bo-Katan, we are close. Again, territory battles is probably something you've got in mind. Your guild probably can do the Mandalore mission. You're probably reaching Tatooine, but I imagine you're not in a position to actually unlock and compete on Mandalore itself. So I guess something to look for the future. Jedi Knight Cal Kestis, obviously special mission, and Jedi Knight Cal Kestis is a great territory battle character to have because you can just use a bunch of random Jedi, not even always Jedi, with him if you want to stick the leadership on him. So he's a good way of making use of high relic characters that don't necessarily have synergies, and definitely for a lot of the light side battles he is very useful on Zepho as well once that's unlocked. So that would be another thing to work towards and sort of farm in the background if you're interested in territory battles. Ahsoka, Commander Ahsoka, yeah, is a bit far off, so probably not super relevant. Starkiller, maybe not at the moment, but always a possibility. Lord Vader, now this would be a sort of not really left field, but if you really wanted to go down territory battle routes, Lord Vader is very good with the clones. And also who's pretty good at territory battles is Jedi Master Mace Windu. So if you farm the clones and also the Jedi Vanguard who are requirements, then you'll have a Jedi Vanguard team, which isn't great. Well, it's fine in PvP, it's like a team to put in there, but it tends to be a lot better in things like territory battles and conquest. So if you really wanted to double down in that area, that could be something. And then Lord Vader, now that these clones, you'll be able to buy them with Lightspeed tokens, definitely opens that up as a possibility, but it's relatively far away. I'd probably focus on this in the future. And General Skywalker, you probably don't have unlocked, but you nearly do. Just the Saj really to go, and maybe some work on these guys. So in terms of the plan, it looks like you are working on Balin, which I think makes sense. Good for GAC, good for territory battles. Pirate King Hondo, I would, where would I put him for this account? I would just put him in October for now, but pretty much as soon as the pirates become purchasable with Lightspeed tokens, it's by far the best resource event in the game. So you've already gone for Jabba, so Pirate King Hondo would be the ultimate thing to work towards, and that would be just unlocking gas, getting ready. Maybe don't apply Lightspeed tokens, but maybe save some if you don't have any better uses. But Pirate King Hondo would be a great future use. Then also profundity. So I think you do, if we head back to your account, so in terms of ships, and this is I guess where we're going to start looking at GAC, you have executor, so I think profundity would really help in GAC, but also make your fleet climb a little bit easier. Even a low star profundity is good against executors and other profundities. Just make your life easier, and is probably quite a quick thing to get now with lightspeed tokens. So I'll maybe put that in here. And yeah, I guess not to bring everything back to tertiary battles, but if you were to get a 7-star profundity, that's more combat missions as well, if that's an area you wanted to focus on. And I guess while we're in fleets, what are we looking at for the other fleets? So I think you do have a form of a home one. Do you ever use 2-star Ravensclaw? I'd maybe invest a little bit more into your home one fleet. And where are you for maybe a Galactic Republic fleet as well? Part of GAC, I'd focus on getting those your core 4 fleets up and running. That would really help in GAC. Looks like Galactic Republic, and you've got Negotiator at 7 stars, which is good. So your Galactic Republic fleet is probably slightly more advanced, and you've got the 7-star B-Wing. You can maybe think about relics on 5s. Again, another territory battle option is doing that special mission on Zepho if it's eventually unlocked, which you can use a clones team with Rex, and then you'd have 5s, you'd have Rex, so maybe these could be lightspeed tokens at some point to bump them up. So your Galactic Republic fleet, I would say, is more advanced than your home one fleet, so I would definitely work away on things like Kyle Katarn to a little bit higher relics, farming the Raven's Claw, and just get those fleets up and running, because I think that would probably help the most when it comes to GAC. And let me just, I've chucked out a lot of territory battle possibilities, but we have like Jedi Knight Calcastus would be one. We have maybe clone special mission. You're working on Night Sisters, so that would require Merrin. I mean, profundity, we've already got that. That would be the most points in terms of combat missions. But you probably want to focus on those special missions, and then it would be things like Bo-Katan as well. So, and there's definitely like Jedi Vanguard. It could be something like, I think this would be something in the future. But if you do want to go for that territory battles focus, that's probably going to be a nice way to go about doing that. And in terms of fitting those in, so I think Jedi Knight Calcastus probably would be something that I'd farm in the background. So like 1, 2, 3, going around here, and then also as part of a Jedi Knight Calcastus team. And also he's okay in territory battles, especially with Jedi Knight Calcastus, is Jedi Master Luke, who I bet you're close to. I'm just going to check on him. Yeah, so a little bit behind, but I would recommend Profundity, which would give you Mon Mothma, R2-D2 for Leia. You've nearly got Hermit Yoda. Biggs, I would recommend getting for the Home 1 fleet and doing something like Biggs, Ravensclaw, and Cassian's U-Wing. Cassian's U-Wing, the pilots will fit into Profundity, so I think that all kind of makes sense. And then Jedi Master Luke, yeah, just building another team for GAC and also for territory battles. So by the time you've got Leia and Profundity, you'll pretty much just have Jedi Master Luke, and then I guess you're working on Jedi Training Rey, and I think you are, I won't check the C-3PO bot, but let's just have a look at your Resistance characters. I think you have bought the Lightspeed bundle for Resistance. You bought one of them. I think you bought the big one. So I guess Rey, but you don't have Ben, so Rey is probably not the most important thing. So kind of packed, but a lot of this doesn't actually require a lot of relics. Lightspeed tokens are a thing as well, and I think would fit into your GAC, but also territory battles. And then I guess Bo-Katan as well, you'd probably, looks like you're working on Bo. I don't know, it's just a case really of a little bit of relics, but mostly like Zetas and Omicrons for Bo, so it can probably work alongside something like a fleet like Profundity. So I'll remove these because they're there at the moment. I guess when you're working on Jedi Knight Calcastus, probably just use a lightspeed token on Seer, because you also need her for the special mission. So yeah, that would be the slightly territory battle focused farming plan, I would say. But moving on to, I guess let's have a look at GAC first. So how are we doing? Listen, what's your overall progress been like? That's interesting. I don't understand that, and it looks like this looks like a SWGOH GG error more than anything else. But yeah, you are currently in Bronzium 2. This seems all over the place. There's some data collection error has happened. I'm gonna sync you actually, and we'll see if that updates. Are you still in Bronzium 2? Nope, you have been promoted. So you are in Chromium 3, which makes more sense. So yeah, you will now need 2 ships in offense, 2 ships in defense. So I guess that backs up the Profundity and Home 1 plan in terms, so you won't have any Chromium experience, but mostly one-sided sort of matches. But let's have a look in this slightly closer one. So you are taking on offense, you've got a Luke team, a little bit of Datacron investment. You're taking sort of SOKR on offense. It looks like you are leaving your Executor on defense, would be my guess here. So that's funny. I think you both just left your Executor on defense and both took your Galactic Republic on offense. So for here, it's very situational. But if you think you can be more efficient and definitely win the mirror match, which I guess isn't guaranteed, I don't like leaving it up to ties on fleets. So yeah, I mean, I guess because your ships were exactly the same here, it didn't really matter, and you're able to get the victory. I think just way better banners. I maybe would have gone slightly heavier on offense with ships there, but in terms of attacking, their defense wasn't that strong. And you got Wampacron. I guess that's not a thing anymore. I think that's going away, so you should be fine there. Would I leave a slightly harder defense? Yeah, I think this is fine. Ships, I guess it's really about scouting, trying to work out by looking at SWGOH.gg what they're going to do with fleets, and especially if it looks like they aren't going to be able to take a strong enough fleet on defense and you can still beat their ship on defense, then maneuvering a bit there can really help. But I think this balance of what you're taking offense, obviously a Wampacron makes life a bit, this is their offense, but your defense I think is broadly fine. Would I maybe go a little bit lighter? I'm not too sure. So I think the only difference is now that especially in Bronzium and Chromium, people really struggle to beat Leia. So I would try set Leia on defense, and if you think you need Jabba to clear an offense, take him on offense and try get that clear, and you can hopefully get quite a few holds with Leia. One thing I like to do, because I'm quite often up against way bigger accounts in Chromium, is set Leia bottom wall defense, 2 strong ships on defense, and if I do a bit of scouting, I can quite often get an indication of if they'd be able to clear those or not. So if I can get holds on both Leia and on ships, they can only clear one zone, and then you can take just enough on offense to make sure you can try clear their 2 non-fleet zones. Then it's 2 against 1, and it's a way to get victory. Doesn't always work if you're up against someone who's way stronger, who can just clear you no matter what, but it's quite a good way sometimes of engineering the victory. But I think your splits here are fine. I guess I like to make sure of the clear on offense, and this maybe is slightly weak offense and is really relying on a really weak defense, but maybe you scouted and you knew, so I might just take something a bit extra on offense and rely on the big holds lower down. So maybe like CLS isn't a very good defensive team, even though it did get a hold here somehow. So maybe sticking that on offense and then relying on like your one big GL, and then some like teams like this is good on defense. I think overall looks good. I'd maybe lean to slightly stronger offensive lineups and try and play more efficiently and stuff like that. So that would just be my advice. In terms of other GAC teams, I think Balin, your Night Sisters are, I think, a work in progress. Are they? Or your Night Sisters? Yeah, so Night Sister Spirit, then you've got yourself a team for 3v3 coming up. So that would be one of my priority Lightspeed tokens. Pretty much, even though your Morgan's only relic 3, you stick a few more relics in there, and you've got yourself a really strong team, especially as you move up to Chromium. Balin I've already mentioned, which includes those Night Sisters. Maybe if you do want to stick Jabba on defense, then maybe adding a few more relics to SWGOH, just because that is the main damage dealer. You've got Treya, you've got, I'm trying to think what would be other good options. Bow is in the plan I've suggested anyway, which would be an option. Starkiller, I personally prefer to work on other stuff, but that would be an option. I'm trying to think other, probably not worth working on the Cassian stuff too much. Like Adrad will give you another team, but I think the big thing, like being able to eventually take the Great Mothers and Balin on offense alongside SOKR, and maybe Jabba, leave Leia on defense if you think you can. That should be pretty good in Chromium if you work on your fleets as well. So I think things are looking good for a push to Erodium at some point. In terms of mods, I guess one thing for GAC is data, because you've got a decent investment, but yeah, I mean, that is the way to get advantage. If each cycle you can make sure you've got, it looks like you're doing this anyway, but a good light side Datacron for Leia once you unlock her, and then the rest that you can sort of use on offense. You might not always need one for SOKR, but it's always good to have. So just make sure you've got one really solid one for Leia on defense, and pick and choose after that, I guess, for offense. Mods, so definitely not my area of expertise, but we can have a quick look over some of the big ones. So overall, I would say the thing that's standing out here to me is speed is fairly low for an SOKR. Here you do want SOKR to be pretty fast. We've got like a 10 speed on here. We've got the sort of an 8 speed as well. So like the primaries, I think you do want health on SOKR, I'm pretty sure. Let me check the consensus on that. Yeah, that's definitely the .gg consensus. So I'd maybe find a health primary. The speed and health I think is broadly fine. Let me actually go back to that. So this is, I was looking through a few. We've got Leia, we have SOKR. So yeah, speed, health, that is the consensus, and definitely what I do as well. So health primary, try work on the speed a little bit more, mainly the 10 and 8 speed, and then just try in the secondaries. It can be difficult, but try squeeze as much offense initially, and then maybe health as a secondary. But you looks like you are doing that with offense. Yeah, the offense secondaries can obviously roll a little bit higher. It's maybe this mod and this mod that I would really work on, and then maybe try, yeah, maybe this one as well. So I guess a little bit of work to do there. Jabba and Leia's mods should be pretty similar once you unlock. So lots of health primaries. Yeah, the idea is fine. I think Jabba's probably, it's a little bit less important maybe than SOKR, but it looks okay. Similar for Leia, I think you want the health primaries, and yeah, other important ones would be like in your, I guess your Jedi Knight look, are you going for low speed? No, I think the offense is fine. The thing about going for low speed is you don't really want to waste sort of good mods for low speeds, because eventually you'll just use them in a Jedi Master look team probably. So if you have like maybe some of those mods, like the 8 speed mod that we saw with SOKR, could maybe, I guess it was speed, so maybe not good, yeah, maybe lower speed. But the reason I'm picking on this is because that is also how you get that CT3 in that assault battle. If you get a Jedi Knight look speed quite low, that should definitely help with things just due to his leadership. Other important ones I would say are SWGOH, like getting, yeah, maybe offenses. I think you'd probably want like crit damage on SWGOH, bit more offense, might even be worth a full offense set. The same with same with Drogon, who you probably haven't started modding Drogon yet because you don't have Leia, but where is he? Yeah, so I mean, yeah, you want Drogon, you want SWGOH to be your main damage dealers in those 2 important GL teams. So yeah, definitely my only general advice would be, and it is hard especially when you're starting, is like trying to avoid things like working on these mods all the way up to 6A. If they're lower speed, try and farm mods to try get them at least to 15 speed by the time you are starting to take them to 6E. It's not always possible very early on, but that's a good thing to aim for, and avoid some of these lower speed mods, I would say. So that's just my advice from someone who doesn't pay that much attention to mods, so I guess take it or leave it there. But I'm sure there's lots of good videos and guides out there. So yeah, thank you very much for letting me have a look at your roster, and yeah, I'll see you next time. Okay, on to the final roster review of this batch, and it will be for Koumes _. They have provided some nice context for their account. So spending style, they've bought 2 lightspeed bundles. I imagine that's all they've spent on this account and are otherwise free to play. In terms of brief account plans, this was submitted a few months ago, so they already do have Leia and are still working on Bo-Katan. I'll see about Peridian Pals. And then also Boba Fett sign of Jango team is interesting. I've heard actually decent things compared to some of the other era teams. I think Lord Vader, maybe, I might be wrong there in terms of a counter. I guess we'll see for sure now that, actually, will the focus stage crowns be gone? I'm not too sure, but once they go, we'll know for sure. Then they are also working on Inquisitors, and then maybe Leviathan. We still have no news on the raid, so I guess hoard up some lightspeed tokens, but apart from that, probably fine to go and continue on Leviathan. And yeah, no worry at all. So let's head on over to their stats. So I've been playing for 3 years and 2/3, so quite relatively old account by the current standards. Just over 10 million, part of Czech guild, I'm going to guess. Mod score is decentish, around the 4. Could maybe be a little bit higher, but I'm sure they are working on that with Jabba, with mods. Maybe Pirate King Hondo might be something to help with that as well. The guild score, I would say that is pretty decent for that guild size. And of course, no point in working on the new raid until we know more about, well, no point in working on the current raid until we know more about the new raid, especially with this score. Kyber 2, so quite a competitive player for 10 million. I think that's pretty good, being in Kyber 2 with a 10 million roster that's mostly free to play apart from 1 or 2 lightspeed bundles. Colosseum rank top 90. We'll have to see what that looks like in the current system. but really good crystal income. So it's definitely the sort of account that has spare crystals, so they can do their signal data refreshes, they can do their mod refreshes, and still have more than enough to go for 5-star marquees and get those. I guess soon those Kyber Lightspeed tokens will matter less and less for this account with the changes to Rhodium Lightspeed tokens, but probably still nice to get a head start on the new era units once they become legacy and getting those at relics. So yeah, OCT3, Peridia Patrol, they did mention they were working on, they have Jabba, so looks like a pretty good setup. So let's look at their account. Okay, so what do they have? They have 5 GLs, Leia, JML, C, SOKR, and Jabba. And I imagine a pretty filled out account after that. A lot of, looks like they're past the conquest character rush. I guess we can check that out actually. Conquest units, who do they have? So it looks like they've caught up with Proving Grounds for sure and are pretty much up to date. Yes, they've got Satil Shan, so up to date on conquest, which is great to see. And they have, I would say, all of the useful ones. They mentioned maybe Boba Fett, Sign of Django, but looks like they haven't started that. Commander Ahsoka Tano could be a possibility if they want to go for Glat or JMK. Ben Solo, I guess, opens up the possibility for Rey. They have Ezra. They have Ezra at Relic 1, which makes me think they had Ezra at a higher Relic level, but decided to, when they nerfed Ezra and refunded the relics, because they don't have Glat yet, decided not to apply those back on Ezra, which is probably a good call until they get Glat. So I guess that means Ezra's already at relics, at least for when you do that, but it's probably a bit annoying. You were probably using that with JML, would be my guess, because there's no Rey either. So yeah, bit unfortunate on that account, but quite, you can see why it's the Kyber 2 account, quite a strong focus on those GAC specific teams, and your Darth Banes, your Malicos, Balin. I guess the next area of improvement is sort of relicking these characters a bit more. Once you start to get towards that K2, K1 region, you're probably going to want, that makes no sense, like relic 8s on a lot of these sort of attackers like Malicos, Stranger, Starkiller as well. I don't know where Starkiller, Balin as a tank. So I think that's the next sort of level for this account. Really, they've got Satil Shan. Do they have, what's their Old Republic looking like? So yeah, kind of low level Old Republic. Could maybe do with a little bit of a boost up, but looks like they're being quite strategic in their relics, so taking characters to relic 6 to protect against up to like relic 9 counters, which I think is a good shout. So looks like they're on top of that, but I guess it's going to start to become the next direction to push the account. What else do we have apart from all of those JAC teams? One thing I want to check are the Imperial Remnant, the Peridia Pals. They mentioned they were working on those. Here they are. They are Relic 6. Looks like Kyber tokens, but haven't got round to applying sort of the final relic level and Zetas to get those, but they're pretty close to them. We've got R9 Tarkin Scorch, maybe, yep, which is nice to see. Scorch as well for a potential Lord Vader in the future. Yeah, just a strong, I would say, GAC focused roster here. Ezra, the sad relic 1 of Ezra. You imagine being timeout until Glat's unlocked. Then we have, so we've got Cassian at relic 3, so it looks like they got the previous characters to 5 stars, and with the make goods we're able to get them Zetas, so that might point them towards maybe working on that team. Already has an Omicron, which is quite interesting. I wonder, it's Kyber 2, so I bet they've got some Datacrons as well. So yeah, quite, what were we looking at? Yeah, reasonable investment in Datacrons. They've got some of the big ones This feels out of date. I thought that expired. Maybe it hasn't. I'm a little bit out of touch at the moment with Datacrons on my big account, but yeah, definitely a solid investment. Haven't quite got the latest set, but I wonder if they're working on the Cassian set just because of that Omicron I saw on Cassian. We've got like the Great Mothers. We have, I guess there's a few non-GAC. There's the Territory Battles, Territory War, Omicron, Territory War as well. Yeah, just a pretty solid account all around. And I guess what they don't have, they've got a bunch of Gear 12s, but I bet Lightspeed tokens will help with those. Let's check their era units. So their active era units, I bet will be 5 stars. It is level 34. I guess I will check their owned units, and this is really just to check if are they buying the episode pass. I'm gonna guess no, but let's have a look. Yep, so this is just the bonus for a loaned unit tokens you get by getting the 5-star marquee. So I'm gonna guess they're sort of top 90, maybe, definitely on the border. So yeah, maybe 600 era currency a day. So Lightspeed tokens are probably not much of, still will take a little bit to save for them, but the account's pretty big already, probably doesn't have a huge need for those. So yeah, let's now have a look through some of the journey guides. So they mentioned Bo-Katan, very close, 1 relic away, is probably imminent. I'll just stick Bo in here straight away, because it looks like it's pretty much done. Leviathan, where are we? So we have 3 characters to apply Lightspeed tokens on. We have got the 2 R9s, and we just really have the two of these guys to get. I think they were already getting first in fleet, and if they're happy to do that longer, that's fine. But they're in Kyber 2 of GAC, so probably really want all GL capital ships. They already have Profundity and Executor, and that's just going to make their life easier, give them the option of taking them all on offense and getting quite a good clear, or maybe being a bit tricky and setting some on defense. So yeah, just having more ships, especially just to secure those offensive battles, can definitely help. So I'll wait to decide on Leviathan, but it's going to be the Cantina farms are going to be the annoying thing there. At Third Sister, they mentioned they want to work on on R7 Inquisitors, but still look like they've got a bit to go on that. Maul Hatefield, so they did mention working on Asajj, but looks like they've got a couple of them to 6 stars. It makes me think they are maybe having an eye on unlocking a 7-star Maul Hatefield. I don't think for this go round of the journey guide, but maybe for the one, if there is one in 3 months, which would be 6 months after. I guess this is sort of a account that already has Stranger, has Starkiller. Having a high relic Maul would probably be pretty good. So I guess just for the fun of it, because I've never put Maul Hatefield into a plan, let's just do that just for the fun of it. They've already got quite a few relics. That's not how you spell Maul. Yeah, I think there's probably other options, but I don't know. Seems fun to me. Pirate King Hondo. Where are we at? Ray's Millennium Falcon. We don't have General Skywalker. That might be one to check, but we've got a bunch of the other relics. I think it's just a case of waiting till the pirates become Lightspeed tokens, and it's the best resource event in the game, and I really have a hard time not recommending it and not putting it in September, which is when I'm estimating them to come out in August. And then the Lightspeed tokens too, like you can use Erodium Lightspeed tokens on them in August is my guess, so that's why I'm saying September. Yeah, it just makes so much sense to me. Yeah, I should really just start including that as default. You've already got a lot of the other relics, you've already got a lot of the other GLs. This will just be one of the big things in terms of return on investment that you'll need to grab, and it is a sensational event, and he is a good GL as well. So, but really it's all about Smuggler's Run 3. Ahsoka, we are a little bit further off. I'd wait to see. I think in terms of the plan, I think you mentioned Leviathan somewhere in here probably makes sense, and Power King Hondo you might be able to fit in, so especially with lightspeed tokens like 1, 2, 3, and then gas already for Power King Hondo, Commander Ahsoka, lightspeed token. So, but just a lot of relics is the thing. A lot of R9s, a lot of R1s to R9s, which is tough. So yeah, not sure about that one. Lord Vader, similar in that you will need quite a few relics, so might be kind of a tough one. So there's actually a couple more I want to check, which I'll bring up now. Right, so one other thing I wanted to check with General Skywalker, just bit of gear and Padme, really. The rest is probably fine with Relic Delta, helping with those higher relic ones. Yeah, so I would say you pretty much have General Skywalker. I did want to check Rey because I think they do have Ben Solo. If we just double check that. Yeah, they do have Ben Solo. This is a free to play account, well, largely apart from the SOKR bundle. They're starting to get to the point of rounding off all of the GLs. I guess options would be, I guess JMK would be another option. I guess I'll check JMK as well. Yeah, JMK is a bit further off, but I'm trying to ignore characters that you could just apply lightspeed tokens on. Wat Tambor is quite a bit off. I imagine you maybe skipped past Dark Side territory battles, so I think we'll ignore JMK for now. But Rey, one of the big changes with lightspeed tokens is, I think, for essentially free to play accounts, it makes these a lot more attractive while you're working away on like adding relics to characters and doing other stuff, working on Leviathan. If you start to build up a real excess of tokens, then Rey and SOKR are actually really good farms, because you can just chuck all of the Rhodium tokens on these guys. You'll have to, I guess, farm a few ships for Radis, so maybe it's not the quickest one, and then work on BB-8, but that's really it. These are like the ultimate, just, yeah, lightspeed token GLs, really. So I think that would be an option. In terms of where you should go, let's have a look. So Leviathan for sure might be, I guess, this might be a little bit quick, but maybe within a month it might be quite. I'll bump it back. I'll just keep Leviathan there. It'll be one of these two probably. Then aside from that, I guess is looking kind of sparse in terms of actual characters. You mentioned maybe waiting for the raid. I guess that's a possibility. Keeping things in reserve, seeing how the era plays out. Do we get a raid announcement soon? But if not, I guess what would be my recommendation? I think, what are the options? So we have, I think, Power King Hondo for sure, Ahsoka, or Lord Vader. Which would hurt the most in terms of signal data? For sure Ahsoka, but Ahsoka does have the event, and you've got Sad Ezra waiting for his relics to be applied again. So yeah, I'm gonna do Ahsoka. That's probably a bit too, yeah, I would Ahsoka if no raid. But equally, another option is just to spend the time, instead of farming new stuff, is of course to go through and apply relics. But I think Kyber 2, you're probably going to want some more GLs at some point, so Ahsoka and Power King Hondo would be the obvious ones. But as I mentioned, things like Rey, I think, are now definite possibilities because of lightspeed tokens. And the great thing about them now is that they don't require a lot of extra signal data or relic materials, and you don't have to really apply zetas or anything to these guys. So I think, yeah, it would be a nice, only if you really start to build up a good supply of error currency and lightspeed tokens, but it could be a really nice option, I think, for an account like this. So I think that's about it. So yeah, thank you very much for letting me review your account. Looks like a good one for sure. And yeah, I'll see you next time.